And we're back. Even more Shacknews awards to hand out. This time, we're going to give an award to the best Nintendo... Wait.
On the count of three, after three. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
We're going to give an award for the best Switch game of the year 2021. And, yeah, who wants to kick off nominations?
I'll do it. The best Switch game of 2021 is Metroid Dread. There we go. Mic drop. Next category.
Okay. Anyone else got a nomination?
Well, I'll give people a chance to expand on Metroid Dread in a second, but normally just the simple repackaging of the Shacknews 2013 Game of the Year, Super Mario 3D World, would not make it eligible for this. Just that by itself is not enough. But they added something to that. They added something that I never expected to be as good as it was.
Huge.
A little something called Bowser's Fury.
Mm-hmm.
And Bowser's Fury is no mere add-on. It's a completely different concept for a Mario game. It actually gives it not just the open world field, because you can go and take on objectives however you want throughout the world without the painting gimmick or without flying to wherever. It's all there.
Yeah, it's not a hub world.
Right. But also every time you get a couple of shines, you notice that Bowser starts to get angry and he gets furious. And when he wakes up, the world becomes a lot more dangerous.
It gets dark. Lava starts falling from the sky. Giant blocks will land on you.
And it will interrupt your objectives and make them infinitely harder.
It's almost like the more that happens, the less fun it is.
Not even enough.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. And I
disagree. I just hop on Plessy and I just start swimming around the entire level.
You definitely do that at the end, because the farther you get in the game, the harder it is to keep Bowser dormant. Bowser actually stays going throughout the end of the game, what actually gives it gives it a greater sense of urgency. The moment-to-moment gameplay of Bowser's Fury really impressed me. I absolutely loved it, and the fact that it's got Super Mario 3D World is a great icing on the cake.
I hit one of the locations in Bowser's Fury, and he started having a big hissy fit and losing his mind. And I was there was this tiny little alcove in the side of a building where I'd picked up a cat shrine, I think. And I just literally ducked in there and just sat in there, and he's raining fire down, and I'm like, nah, I'm going to cheese it. I'm going to camp. I just camped it out. It was good.
But you can't do that at the end of the game, though.
No, I know, but I mean, I had to have my moment, it was because I'd spent the rest of the time dodging, every time Bowser freaked out, you gotta get out of the way.
And then there are some of the shines where you need him to go off, because there are some blocks that can only be broken by Bowser. So there's a bit of a strategy element to that as well.
Kaiju, Mario, Bowser, boss battle.
Mm-hmm. My only complaint, and I went into this in the review.
You have a giant cat Mario.
Why isn't this its own thing?
Cat Mario versus a giant Bowser.
I hope it becomes its own thing.
Well, yeah, I'm just curious. I just had to piggyback on the.
Because 3D World might be the best 3D Mario ever made.
If they make this,
and it was released on Wii U, which is considered a huge failure.
If they make this a 20 to 30 hour standalone in the future, I'll totally vote. That might be my game of the year.
Yeah,
that is kind of where I stand too. Where I'm actually not voting for it, because I would actually like to see this concept spread out into a full game. As far as I'm concerned, it feels like a DLC add-on to something that was already good.
100 stars though. That's not DLC.
But
no, I'm talking about Bowser's Fury is the
Bowser's
DLC.
Fury has 100 different cat shines in it.
But to TJ's point, what made this feel like an afterthought for me, and I went into this in the review, is they never actually go into how Bowser got this way. Why is Bowser there?
Honestly.
Why is he, Matt? How did anyone even get here?
You're asking about Mario lore?
Who cares? Who cares?
This might be one of the only times. This might be one of the only times I've ever questioned Mario lore. I was actually kind of looking forward to the explanation of well, Bowser got here and this made him this way, or But we never got that.
You want the Phantom Menace for Mario?
Questioning lore in a Mario game
Mario
is a
games
mistake.
are pretty light on story and traditional narratives. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. There's some classic horror games that I love. TJ might have played these. One is called Haunted Ground, another is like Clock Tower 3, where you're getting really into the game, you're exploring, you're trying to solve puzzles, but the serial killer just won't leave you alone, to the point where he starts out scary. He starts out as this big intimidating force, only to become a nuisance. Like, will you please just fuck off so I can solve this puzzle or explore trying to do what I want to do? If Bowser's Fury, if Nintendo does take that concept and run with it into a full-fledged game, I'm all for it. But if they have Bowser pestering me every few minutes,
You'd like some balance.
I would love some balance.
It's like if Calamity Ganon showed up every 10 minutes in Breath of the Wild.
I really like, to me, Super Mario 3D World saved that package for me. It is the best 3D Mario game in my opinion, but also like Bowser's Fury, I liked what was there, but I feel like I didn't get to enjoy it enough because Bowser just he wasn't even difficult. I just wanted him to fuck off so I could just explore and platform and do Mario things, which is kind of how I feel about a certain mechanic and system in Metroid, actually. But it was more pervasive in Super Mario, or whatever the fuck, Bowser's Fury, because it was such a smaller game. And yes, there are 100 cat shines, but like, you're tripping over those things. They're not exactly difficult to get.
I do like though that
if you progress through that game quickly, like someone who's good at Mario would, you don't run into this, oh man, Bowser's so mean and bad. It's like, in one night I was on my third fight already with Bowser. I think it's, if you play that game, you get rewarded with no Bowser for a little bit, or you get the giant cat bell, right?
It's not a bad game. I like it, but to me, it's a big flaw in such a short game.
But I do like that Bowser spices up certain like mundane Mario activities that we've come to expect at this point. Like, he'll spice up a Boom Boom fight by like making it a little harder. I thought that was pretty cool.
Certain ones. I just wish it wasn't almost all of them.
It's so random. That's, I think, the thing. Like, there isn't. If it was more scripted, that might, I think, fit better into the gameplay. But it's completely random. You'll be in the middle of a wall jump and then lava starts raining on you or something. Like,
I'm not good at Mario games, and I didn't find it to be a nuisance, honestly.
That's totally fine. It is subjective.
Yeah.
See,
but I mean, Metroid Dread is Metroid Dread.
But you know what Bowser's Fury does have that Metroid Dread doesn't? Good controls.
Let's have better controls. It does.
Oh my god. Like, don't even tell me that Metroid has good controls.
I was going to tell you, it was like the one thing. That's the one thing. Yeah.
I was going to say good things about Metroid Dread, but
and
those
David
controls...
did not complain once about the controls in a 3D Mario game.
I can complain about enough in 3D Mario games, honestly. I don't need to go after the controls.
I'm just saying, that's not an issue.
To this credit, though, I pulled off some amazing parkour Matrix shit in 100% in Metroid Dread.
Yeah.
The moment where
I had a blast doing it.
Yeah, those sequences where you're trying to escape the Emmy just really make that game, and really gives it an intensity that the older Metroids haven't had.
Make that game something.
With maybe the exception of Fusion. Like Fusion, when you were trying to escape like the X Samus suit, like that was cool, and you can feel like it feels like you get like a more refined version of that when you're trying to escape the Emmys.
So before we continue on here, are there any other games that we're nominating for this category? Donovan, what you got?
I'd like to bring up Pac-Man 99, a game that almost everybody in here has gushed over during these deliberations. That is certainly one of the best games on Switch this year.
Man, I love Pac-Man, so it's pulling at my heartstrings. I have really nothing bad to say about Pac-Man 99 either, but Metroid Dread is it is the new best Metroid game. And that has been Super Metroid for me for so long. Like, we're talking, that was like it's been more than 2 decades that I've been waiting for this game. And it does, and while the controls have issues, it does stuff so brilliantly. The way that the a world opens up and sort of guides you through opening up is like a masterclass in designing levels for a Metroidvania game. The story was compelling to me. It looks freaking gorgeous. It's one of the best looking games on the Switch to ever come out. Period.
Yeah.
And there's just so much that I love about it, and there's so much to love about it, and it's really top notch Metroid, and I can't say enough good things
It
about it.
explores plot points that have been kind of left in the periphery of the Metroid franchise since the very first game, and
Yeah.
in ways that are just so satisfying.
It wraps up
for-
so much too. Like
Mhm.
when you get to the when you finish it, there's so much of the Metroid saga that it ties in and kind of puts end on and sets up Metroid for whatever's coming next to be really open to explore whatever it wants.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't I went into this like I'm a pretty casual Metroid fan. I don't prefer 3D to 2D in general. Like I do prefer 3D Zeldas, but I prefer 2D Marios, that sort of thing. But I don't really know anything about the Metroid lore. I did like the story. I thought the artwork during the story sequences was great. And I like that I especially liked the end sequence where, Samus could have given in to this corruption and was kind of talked down from it. I thought that was cool. And I that is my favorite Switch game of the year. I have some major issues with it, but I have major issues with the other like top nominee on Switch this year too. So it's just about 100% in Metroid, and I never done that with a Metroid game before. It's just fun to play. It's just fun to play.
Until you have to kill an enemy with the most convoluted control system you've ever
Escaping
seen.
the enemy is fun. Trying to actually kill the enemy is yeah.
I haven't really felt like a game highlighted how terrible the Switch controls are. Like the actual design of the Joy-Con and the Pro controller.
That's just Mercury's theme, though, because I remember the controls in Samus Returns weren't that great either.
No, but what I'm saying is that Metroid Dread puts a spotlight on how bad the controllers for Nintendo Switch are.
It does, but like to Ozzy's point though, like you didn't have any moments in the Metroid 2 remake where you had to like it was almost do or die with the controls, working with the controls.
Yeah.
But again, like I don't really care for the Emmys implementation. The controls did get on me, but I also 100%ed. And almost every environmental puzzle I solved, I saved a clip of because I just felt like such a badass doing it.
Mm-hmm. It kind of felt like Celeste in that sense, where like when you beat an area or when you get past that area in Metroid Dread, you're like, yeah, there is a feeling of accomplishment. And the boss battles, excellent.
The boss battles are great. The boss battles are great.
Like, yeah, so if you're gonna put the boss battles in Bowser's Fury up against the boss battles in Dread, I think everyone's gonna probably vote for Dread if that was what we were talking about here. But I'm talking about the entire experience. I still haven't beaten Dread. I'm terrible at Metroidvanias, but I'm just kind of taking my time with it. I occasionally on the weekend I'll pick it up and play it again. But yeah, what I have experienced, the boss battles are outstanding. The level design, Blake, to your point, is masterful, and it improves as you unlock more power-ups. Like when you get the morph ball, really unlocks a lot of stuff.
It's subversive in that way too. Like you have to wait a good while before you get the morph ball.
Yeah,
that was the craziest thing about it too.
Yeah, you're not just like checking boxes until like I'm in step 3, I get the morph ball. Like you have to wait a while, and it completely changes how you think about exploration. The only part of the progression I had kind of an issue with is you would often, this happened like 2 or 3 times, where you go from one missile upgrade right to the next, and it's like, well, that last one felt kind of worthless, but at least I do more damage now, but that's not really a big thing. All of the navigational tools felt very worthwhile and satisfying to master.
Yeah, and oh my god, so many delicious mini boss fights too. in Metroid Dread. Like we're talking about, like you mentioned the regular boss battles also, but like some of the creatures you run into and the ways you have to like fight them and destroy them, a lot of fun. And then like I remember the first time I went up against like one of these like robots in the game, and like it just like whooped my ass, and I finally figured out how to kill it. And then the next time I ran into it, there were two of them, and I was just like, "You son of a bitch!" But
Those fights were so fun.
But they were a blast.
So fun.
Yeah, and they kept upping the ante. Like Metroid Dread doesn't pull punches, doesn't handhold. It gives you solid classic Metroid.
It throws you right into the fire at the beginning too. It's not like it reminds me of Doom 2016 in a weird way, where it's just like, Samus, you're back here, you're doing this thing, go kill. You know, Doom Guy, like when Doom Guy throws the tablet at the beginning of 2016, like I felt that similar vibe from Samus at the beginning of Dread. And it's a very good game, but I still like, I don't know. I have my vote for this category.
I just feel like oh, go ahead.
TJ's got a nomination. Let's get that out there.
I want to put out because this is probably one of the few times we'll talk about this one. Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin. This was a shockingly good game for me this year. It's essentially Pokemon with Monster Hunter lore. Which sounds grindy, but actually, and it is a little bit, but like they also take a lot of the pain points of the Pokemon series and whittle them down and streamline them in a way that makes the experience fun. You go around collecting monsters from the Monster Hunter universe. They become your friends. You can ride them around. You can ride a freaking Rathalos around, take it into combat, and like it's got like a really interesting sort of paper rock scissors mechanic to combat, where like there's so many different animations for the monsters and fighting in the game, and so many different special attacks that every time you discover something new or use a monster in a way you haven't before, it's so satisfying when you land the big hits. It's maybe one of the coolest JRPGs I've seen in a long time as far as using that license and making it work in that style.
So I guess my question is, aren't the fights just as grindy as the regular Monster Hunter fights? Like, doesn't it take a long ass time to get through combat?
It's more of like any old JRPG where you have fights to level up experience, and you have the longer boss fights that take some strategy, some tactics, considering what monsters you're going to bring to combat, because each of the monsters not only has like, they have an element of power, speed, or defense that they specialize in, but they also have elements to them. So considering your composition of monsters, you can bring 6 with you out into the field, and so considering which monsters you're going to bring into the field with you is very important for some of the tougher enemies, and I really think that's cool too. The other thing that I love that it does is, like Donovan said, as a plus point of Pokemon this year, when your active monsters that aren't in combat level up, even if you're not using them, so you don't have to constantly bring out a weaker monster to try to grind to level it up alongside your stronger characters. It does so many smart things with that style of gameplay, and I really, really enjoyed the whole experience more than I ever thought I would.
Okay, well, that's not going to win, but that was a nice breakdown of the game. Let's vote, because Lola's about to lose her shit on me. She's hungry. I hear you, Lola. So yeah, let's start with Chris.
We'll go with the Super Mario 3D World with Bowser's Fury.
Blake?
Metroid Dread. I mean, this is like the only category where I'm gonna be upset if Metroid Dread doesn't take home this win. Man, I love this game so goddamn much.
Bill?
Don't telegraph that, Blake. That didn't work for you last year.
I don't. Yeah, well, certain people aren't here to be.
I'm loving Bowser's Fury. I gotta go Bowser's Fury.
Ozzy?
I'm gonna say Bowser's Fury, but Metroid Dread is really close, Blake.
Ooh. Oh man, you're all
TJ.
reviewing New World.
It's too late. New World already came out, and it was actually decent.
Well, it wasn't a bad
Wasn't
game.
even a threat.
You know what? No, like I'll go with Metroid Dread. I mean,
TJ was almost about to go for Monster Hunter Wings of Ruin.
I love Metroid Dread for a lot of reasons, and like I love look over there. There's no less than 3 Bowsers on my shelf.
Yeah.
A 4th one coming. He's on my PC background right now. I have like 5 different Bowser shirts. I am Bowser fan numero uno.
Well,
But
like it, you voted for Samus Returns.
But I want to see the Bowser's Fury concept expanded into a full game, and if that happens, it will be my game of the year without any sort of discussion.
DJ, could you teach me how to fly a clown car? I need some help.
That's funny because TJ's got the Bowser stuff and is voting for Metroid, and I got the Metroid shirt and I'm voting for Bowser. So
yeah, Greg, you're voting for Metroid, right?
Yeah, it's a great game. Harkens back to what made that whole series of games and just that genre great. It was nice to experience that again on the Switch in first party form, I guess.
Donovan.
As much as I want to be a villain and spite vote for Mario, I'll vote for Metroid.
I just never know. I just never know.
Denny, who you got here?
I'm going with Metroid. I mean, there's going to be plenty more freaking 3D Mario, but I don't know how often we're going to get some more Metroid this quality again.
But how often do you get a giant cat Mario fighting a giant Bowser?
Every couple of years.
No, you really don't. This is the first time ever.
No, it happened. It happened at the end of 3D World.
I guess, but not to this extent. The scope of this. I should say we've never seen Fury Bowser before.
Okay, no, that's you won that one. Okay.
I got it.
You got that one.
I got it. Okay. David, who are you voting for?
Metroid.
Okay. Give me 1 second here. Let's see if I can dig up some votes. Sam. What did Sam vote for? It looks like the Switch game.
Metroid.
He did?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like my vote doesn't matter.
You're going to vote for Bowser's Fury, right?
I am.
Yeah, you can still vote for Bowser's Fury.
Yeah, but it's 7-4. Metroid Dread has won. So, congratulations to Nintendo on winning an award for a platform that they own. With an IP that they own.
Oh,
historically, they make the best games for the platforms. That's not
just like the game that you voted for.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's funny to congratulate Nintendo on making a Nintendo Switch game. But yeah, Metroid Dread.
Next year, Sony is going to get it for baseball.
I'm saying next year.
Watch MLB The Show win this next year. It would be hilarious. But yeah, it's Metroid's back, and that's a good thing. There's a whole new generation of people that are experiencing this franchise for the first time, and it's an excellent game.
Yeah,
I think the level design's awesome. There's a lot of good things here.
And Mario games are always awesome. I don't want to like make it seem like Bowser's Fury is like total crap, but we are definitely getting more Mario games. Like Metroid, who knows like how long it's going to be. Although this was the most successful
another
Metroid
game. They're working on Prime 4. Like that didn't stop.
Yeah, but
okay. The next 2D Metroid.
Yeah, we don't know when that's happening.
See, that's
Give me multi-world Bowser's Fury, and I will vote for it without question. Like, I want that whole thing.
No, I get it. It was like an appetizer, more than it was like an entire entree. But to me,
Metroid
it was
a 4-course meal.
It's still, I don't know. Whatever.
It's still worth nominating. It's worth nominating.
It was worth nominating. Like these 4 games all stuck out on the Switch this year. Pac-Man 99 didn't receive any votes, but definitely one of the better multiplayer games to be on Switch this year. And yeah, Monster Hunter had multiple bangers that released on the platform this year.
I didn't even get a chance to make a case for a new Pokemon Snap, which has not been mentioned at all during these deliberations, but actually deserves to be mentioned.
Okay.
Well, there you go. You mentioned it.
There you mentioned it. Congratulations.
Pokemon Snap. It's a game where they would say it's the second one.
You know what I love about the Metroid, when you start that game? It's not like a Nintendo splash screen. It just says Metroid Dread. And then, like, at the bottom, copyright Nintendo.
Nintendo.
Yeah. Congratulations, Nintendo. You guys make good Nintendo games. Metroid Dread, best Nintendo Switch game of 2021.
What am I going to do with the award? Nothing. I don't know what I'm going to do. That's the least of my concerns right now.